Hello and welcome to FBL Broadcasting. I'm FBL Smiler, as it says on the screen. And yeah, an interesting one today. The sum of all fears, vaccinate or not, as it may be. Funny that I'm having some problems with my camera, I think. Let me know if I am in the comments. Nice of you all to join me. This is a weird one, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot going on. There's division in the world and division against other people, and it's strange. Again, the vaccination, what do you do? Do you or don't you? Well, one thing for sure from me you can take is I don't care whether you do or you don't. All I care is that, as I'll show you later in the slides, that you're informed. So without further ado, let us know in the comments. Just say hi so that I know you're watching, and if you want me to do a little shout out. If you've got any questions, put them in there. At the end, if you fancy it, I can obviously put you on the system, as I say. I can bring you up if you care to. Now, don't be derogative in the comments. If you think I get anything out of this, I don't. It's taken me ages to gather some of the information, seeing people do things and not do things, and argue with other people, family members as well. Division is the worst thing that we can have. Division is what stops people communicating, and family members, especially against each other, is not right. And this is another reason I had to do this. I had to do this broadcast, because by doing this broadcast, I also put at jeopardy me being on YouTube, because there is big pharma, big tech, I should say, stopping people from talking out and letting people know the facts. Now, let's get the, as I will call it, let's get the slideshow going. So again, say hi if you so, or if you agree, disagree with what I'm saying, or maybe if at all, if you really don't know, let me know if you've had the vaccination already, or let me know if you're not going to have it. I don't mind. Let me know in the comments. Again, only by discussing and bringing the information out there can we all make decisions in life and try and help one another. So, the sum of all fears, vaccinate or not. Now, I did have a different title on this. So I decided to change it at the last minute, because it's not worth running through the hills as I was running, to the hills. It was kind of like, let's let people know what it's really about. So again, first time I've used doing a slideshow sort of thing with this software, so bear with me if it doesn't all go right. Oh, there we go. Knew it straight away. It's going to go back one. Here we go. I'm not medically trained in any way. Please take that as gospel. But I am an analyst, which means I've worked for Nationwide. I've worked in Lehman Brothers, part of the subsidiary of Southern Pacific. I've worked with the NHS, all employed, not consultancy, so to speak. CRS, IT, SME, for instance, was my position at the NHS, quite a high position. Dealt with lows and stopped lows and protected people and their data. I will stand out from the crowd, and I will make sure information, or the people have the right to say stuff as well. I don't allow bullying, so to speak. So some of the things I go by: the only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men, and I've added this, to do nothing, and women to do nothing. So Edmund Burke. You might be thinking, what the hell's that all got to do with it? Well, sometimes in life, information is presented to you in the wrong way, which then takes me on to the next slide, which is Mark Twain. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Of course, we all know that one. I'm sure we've all heard that one. Maybe the one before you hadn't, but this one I'm sure you have heard. So sometimes when you're looking at statistics, they're manipulated. You're showing stuff, and I've seen this so much that I can't help myself but shout at the TV. I get infuriated with how they're not presenting their information correctly and rightly, so people become informed. Now, please let me know in the comments. Do share this with other people. You think, I don't know where he's going with this, but it looks quite interesting. All the information I show you is mainly from a government website, or from the government, I should really say, like, for instance, ONS as well, or Public Health England, or further afield. There we go. It's a little bit later. So, lies. When you start to play around with stats and not show the real sort of figures and stuff, then it brings lies. And what do lies breed? Fear. And there's a lot of fear in society today, whether you wear a mask, whether you don't, whether you're 2 meters next to somebody, or even 1 meter. I have an opportunity to live broadcast a wedding on Saturday. I phoned up the ceremony place, which is in the council offices or the registry, and I asked them about, you know, what provisions is there, what's going on, let me know so that I can work within them. And they came back and said, we're not allowed tripods. We're allowed 8 people, but we're not allowed tripods. You have to hold the camera. I was like, all my equipment's wireless, but we need to keep a steady shot. And they're like, categorically no. And they even said the bride and groom are not allowed to even put rings on the table. What are we doing in society that this is how far we're going with this? Very interesting. Let me know in the comments, please, because that infuriates me. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But again, there you go. So I've been doing some investigating. I've been looking at a lot of stuff. And if you have been please put it down there and I'll try and read it as I go through this broadcast. And I do this because, believe it or not, censorship is out there. People are being stopped from, you know, saying their piece. They've been taken down saying, oh, it's tin foil stuff, blah, 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 or it's not right, you're just scaremongering. When actually some of the stuff I've read is totally right. It's totally, you know, it's legal. It's I wouldn't be surprised if this stream gets taken down, or even my channel. And that's what we're dealing with here. Censorship to the highest of degrees, where, I mean, you may not like Trump. What I found really astonishing was taking him down off of Twitter, Facebook, and all the other social media channels he was on. Same with Patreon. Was it Patreon? Whatever they were called. Let me know. AMG, big shout out to that person for helping me out in a lot of stuff, and hopefully will send me some links if I can't find them, or bring them up, or maybe some interesting information that I might come across that somebody might ask about. They're gonna help me out. But yeah, censorship. We've been removed from Facebook for no apparent reason. I've tried to communicate. I've sent a couple of messages and received nothing back. And there is this thing where if you go against anything the government is saying about vaccinations, then you're removed. So it's interesting. But I think you'll find from what I'm going to present to you, it's neither against or for. I'm just giving you informed consent. I do this because of family, and you're all my family. Everybody in the world's my family. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I love you all, and I want you to be protected, and I want you to understand what you're bringing yourself into and what you're doing, or what may be happening. You know, that you may not have been, you might not have had the information to help you make an informed decision. Speak the truth. Something major, unless you're playing poker, of course, then you obviously you're not allowed to. But try your best, speak the truth, get the information out there, and that's what I kind of expect when I look at stuff. Like I said before, I stand alone most of the time, especially when I'm doing some investigations, and this is what this is. This is what's happened, where I've even felt nervous in regards to the scenario that we are under, because, you know, don't I, people may or may not agree with certain information. So let's see where we go with this. So informed consent. Did I just miss something? No, I didn't. Informed consent is the process in which a healthcare provider educates a patient about the risks, benefits, and alternatives of a given procedure or intervention. The patient must be competent to make voluntary decision about whether to undergo the procedure or intervention. So if you're a medical professional and you do not educate people into what is in the vaccine, which, again, there's stuff, and I am aware that people are being educated, you know, and being told not to take the vaccine because, for instance, they might have a reaction to the ingredients that are in it, which is great, and I'm glad to hear that. But I'm also hearing people saying they've got something, and I'm like, well, kind of maybe really did nobody speak to you with, you know, how you felt about that? And they said no, they just went alongside and had the injection, which is not right. There you go. Informed consent. Right. So it all comes from the Nuremberg Code. Now, you might hear this and you might not realize that when number 10 is talking, and again, there was obviously a press conference today. I've missed that. I've missed the last 2 weeks while I've been sorting out a load of things with the business. Again, I can see the writing probably is a bit too small. Let me know in the comments if it is. But one of the major ones in this Nuremberg Code was it was set up after the Second World War when Nazi Germany was doing experiments on people. And they did this to you know, allow humans to be humans, really, and stop people from doing experiments on people without letting them know that they need to be, you know, that you can't do an experiment where they could be at risk of death, for instance, or a long-term life-limiting disease or anything. So this was set up, and you might see this a lot come up with a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's against the Nuremberg Code," and this is what it's in reference to. If you don't know really what it is, look it up. Look it up on Google. Don't just take my information. Again, like I say, I'm no medical professional, and I'm doing this because I love you all, and I just want to kind of put some stuff out there and let you see some of the data that I've been talking to with, for instance, the Aylesbury Mayor as well, discussing with him on some of the shows. If you haven't seen them, have a look. Number two, the experiment should be such as to yield fruitful results of the good of society, unprocurable by other methods or means of study, and not random and unnecessary in nature. Which says what it says, really. You know, it's not a random. There's a reason why you're doing this test. There was something I actually wanted to bring out, which is the experiment, which is number 8. The experiment should be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons. The highest degree of skill and care should be required through all stages of the experiment of those who could or engage in the experiment. Number 9 is during the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end if he has reached the physical or mental state where continuation of the experiment seems to him to be impossible. So we'll come back to reasons why I've just said that. So a couple of vaccines that we have, which is AstraZeneca and Pfizer, brought this up. If you don't know what they are, hopefully you do by now. It's been all over the press and all over mainstream media, and also number 10 updates. If you haven't been watching them, you know, kind of why you're taking it if you don't really know what you're taking. So the Oxford vaccine basically uses mRNA. It's kind of tucked away in there. They kind of say it here. They've been using, though, technology which has been developed and optimized by the Jenner Institute over the last 10 years. This type of vaccine technology has been tested for many other diseases such as influenza, which is the flu, Middle East respiratory syndrome, which is MERS, and another type of coronavirus. What is interesting with all this is, you know, this stuff has been used but before, and the main point I'm looking at here, sorry, I'm looking on another screen, so that's where I can see this better, is really where they've done the trials, which is UK, Brazil, South Africa. And it's very interesting that that's where some of these new strains are coming from. So the trials were done with 23,000 people in those countries. AstraZeneca are also running a further trial with 40,000 people in the USA, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. Excuse me. So Pfizer, they're the same. Theirs is an mRNA, which creates a spike protein, which again they've tested on 44,000 people, and trials were done in the USA, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, and Turkey. Again, quite interesting. We have another variant in Brazil. Make what you want of that, but it does. When I start to hear about new variants and I've seen that the trials have been conducted in those countries, what don't we know? So for this next part of the way, shall we say, the UK hasn't really been supplying much information. So I've gone to the CDC, Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. So the United States Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, or US CDC, is a national public health agency of the United States, a bit like our Public Health England, but for the USA. It is a United States federal agency under the Department of Health and Human Services and is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I use them because they've got more data. Now, the reason the Americans have more data, or they're better with their data, is because they have private health care. And they when they go through the process of, you, for instance, having a jab or any medical intervention you're having, they make sure that they allot the right, for instance, code against whatever treatment you're receiving, so that they can receive the money from the insurance. A lot of people who are, if not the vast majority of people in America, have private healthcare, which also brings out why don't they have free healthcare? They do, but it's not so good, obviously. So they released this wonderful PNG file, or a picture, shall I say, which is a graph, which I found quite interesting, very interesting. Let me know in the comments. Please let me know in the comments. So as you can see, they again up there. I'll put it in the comments maybe, so that you can click on the link. You can actually look at this yourself. They have updated it. It's a little bit different. It has they've updated it, but I've gone with this anyway because I've been working on this, and honestly, everything's changing every single day. So as you can see here, 22 million says at the bottom of the slide there, 22,394,397 cases. These are all the people who caught COVID, and they split into age groups. So the data available is 22,225,317. So as you can see from this, a lot of 18 to 29 and 50 to 64-year-olds have contracted COVID. Just because you contract COVID don't mean you're going to die, by the way. So as you can see, that's a lot. I mean, 22 million cases we're talking here. And I mean, let me know in the comments. Seriously, I've had a couple of conversations with a few people about this slide. 18 to 29-year-olds. Well, we kind of know what teenagers are like, and as they get older and stuff, and nobody's telling me what to do. But the 50 to 64-year-olds, only thing I can think of is that their kids have now turned 18, and maybe they're going out. Like, I am going out no matter what. I am seeing my friends. I have been locked down for 18 years looking after children. Now it's my time to get out. Don't know. Let me know if you're in any of those age groups. What you think that people would be doing that. But as you can see, anyway, that's basically 45%. Well, 42%. Let's be a little bit more precise. 42% of the amount of cases that have come out, or people who've been infected. So why am I showing you that? Well, let's have a look at all the numbers, really. As you can see, 30 to 39 is 16.3%, with like 3.6 million. 40 to 49, which is my age group, which is like basically 15%. And then you go all the way, after 50 to 64, you got 65 to 74, which is 7.8%, which is 1.7 million. 75 to 84 is 4% with 904,000, and 85 plus at 2.4% with 533,000. So these figures are great to look at. This kind of helps in any analysis that you're doing, especially because you've got some big numbers to play with there. The smaller your number range, the higher your stats will move, like what we saw when I was interviewing the Aylesbury Mayor, where we were having like our tier 1, 2, 3, and then eventually we had the massive lockdown. Well, when we moved to the tier system, and they were saying what tier you were going to be on, they were saying, for instance, that 2 people have last week had COVID, and then 4 people. So there was 100% rise in cases, when actually, when you drilled down, you saw that it was actually only 0.2 of the population in that area who had, for instance, COVID, which is like, why are we doing all this if that's the figure? So the more data you have, the better you can, deal with the data and give a more logical answer to stuff. So, excuse me, I'll just take a quick drink. Again, let me know in the comments what you think. So this next slide is going to be something some of you might not like, or some of you will like. It's no different than what they showed on number 10. Again, well, they showed on number 10, they were very quick in what they say, and they kind of dismissed half of the statistics, which I'm going to show you here. Again, my thoughts to all families who've been affected by COVID, especially if there's been deaths. And I'm not going to be blatant about these numbers. These numbers are, they're huge, and they do affect people. And, again, sorry for your loss if you've lost anybody. As you can see here, over the age of 50 is where more deaths are. You can see it greatly increases. So we've got what? 50 to 64 at basically 15%, 65 to 74 at 21.3%, 70 to 84 at 27.6%, and 85 plus at 32%. But if we go then, that's what the government was showing you a couple of weeks ago when I was looking at all this. And I was quite annoyed that they didn't go about your chances of recovery from COVID. What are your percentages? So as you can see, those numbers are going up. It's still not like if you catch COVID, you will die. That, as you can see from the 85%, 85 plus, 2/3. So 2/3 survive, but still that's quite a high number, isn't it? Quarter of the people who've been admitted. But when we start to go down below, the age 50 group, this is where they're starting to push now with the vaccine. Your risks of dying from COVID is 2.8% if you're 40 to 49. 30 to 39 is 1.1%. 18 to 29 is 0.5%. 5 to 17 is 0.1%, and 0 to 4 is less than 0.1%. So if you catch COVID up to the age of 18, your survival rate is greater than 99.9%. Think that for a minute. Now, what I'm worried about, and this is the reason for this, is the push for youngsters under the age of 18 to have this vaccine. And I'll explain why in later slides. But even if you're 30 to 39, 18 to 29, you have a 99.5% chance of survival. Again, if you've got those numbers are a little bit different for you if you, for instance, have any conditions that may be effective, especially if it's a respiratory disease that you may have or maybe have. This number is literally what you should be looking at. These stats are how you base your life around, because once you take this injection, you can't take it back. And that's the thing. That's one thing you got to understand. Once you take it, you can't take it back. Again, I don't care whether you do or you don't, you just become informed. But under the age of 18, you are now making a decision on somebody who is under your care. And you really need to make sure you understand what you are doing before you push for it or have them have it. Because, again, you can't take this back once you've administered it. So let me help you along the lines here. So I kind of try to work out the 1 in whatever chance. So as you can see, 85 plus is 32 and 100. That's what percentages really are, aren't they, really? 28 and 100 for 35 to 84. So, for instance, 28 people who go in, but for every 100 people who go in the hospital, 28 won't obviously come out. Again, I've used chance of death, but it's actually die or whatever. Depends how you want to look at it. 65 to 74 is 21 in 100. 50 to 64 is 15 in 100. it's 14.6, but again, I've just kind of rounded it up. 40 to 49, I've just put 3 in 100. 30 to 39, 1 in 100. Then again, 80 to 29 is 5 in 1,000. 5 in 17 is 1 in 1,000. So, and same for 0 to 4. So let me know in the comments, is that any way that you thought of looking at this information? And it is quite worrying in one way if you're looking at, for instance, 85 plus. So I also thought of throwing a couple of little things to kind of give you something about the stats. So if you're riding on a motorbike, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance of being a fatality. Pedestrian incident is 1 in 543, and a Grand Prix driver is 1 in 100. So that's what, looking at that, tell me if there's other stats that you may know that you can probably link into that, like 1 in 100 or 1 in 3 or the 1 in 1,000. Now, all this information comes from the CDC themselves. Again, the link is up there above. We're trying. I wonder if I can copy that across. Let's see if this works, people. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Okay. Apologies. Can't send that in. I'll do it later. So, 85 plus, 1 in 3. Now, I spoke to a few people and they said to me, is it that high really? I was like, well, 32%, whether you like it or not, that's basically what you're saying, 1 in 3. And if I'm wrong, please do let me know in the comments. No problem there. But that's how I look at 100%. Obviously, is basically the amount of percentage of people out of 100. So here we go. Let's go on to the next one. So lifetime odds of death for selected causes is based in the United States, because somehow I ended up on this one. Odds of dying. So heart disease is 1 in 6. Cancer is 1 in 7. All preventable causes of death is 1 in 24. Chronic lower respiratory disease, 1 in 27. Suicide is 1 in 88, and so forth. I'm sure you can read, and there you go. It's quite interesting. It says motorcyclist 1 in 899, where, yeah, I showed you 1 in 1,000 earlier. But I'm showing you this so that you kind of know, when we go back to here, I want you to always bear this 1 in 1,000. And you think, well, so for every child who catches it, out of that 1,000, one unfortunately will perish, die. I don't know how really to say it in a nice way, which of course I hope and I really wish nobody would, but I'm sure you all agree with me on that. Let me know what you think about that. So when you say 1 in 1,000, and then I show you these stats, fall is 1 in 106. Do we stop people from going outside in case they fall over and obviously hurt themselves and then end up dying from that? No, we don't. We don't all go out wearing bubble wrap all around us, even though I know a lot of you probably would like to do that. Be a bit of fun. Excuse me. So yeah, that's, again, let me know what you think about those odds. Do you consider that when you go out and you walk across the road, 543 pedestrian incident? Do you think about that's what you're doing when you go outside? But you don't. You just get on with your life, just carry on as normal. It's only because I'm bringing this to your attention that you're actually thinking, oh, okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Okay. I mean, the cancer is 1 in 7. I think somebody told me the other day it's 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 even. Well, we know somebody with. I mean, all preventable causes of death, 1 in 24. Annual risk of death by age and sex in the UK. Yeah, I haven't put down where I got this information. I think I got it actually from Google, but there we go. All ages, 1 in 136, and for women, 193. Women actually do quite a lot when I'm looking at stats, do better than men. Don't know why. Is it because men are more risk takers? Don't know. Let me know in the comments. It's quite interesting. 85 and over, 1 in 6 for men, 1 in 7 for women. So as you can see the numbers there. They're quite interesting to look at. Again, not 1 in 1,000. I mean, for men, I mean, well, look at 1 in 4,386 for male 1 to 4, or women 5,376. So yeah. So I've just got a message. Sorry about that, and I will look into that in a second. So, I mean, what the person has put. Death stats based on positive tests within 28 days. Yeah, I'll cover that off in a mo. Thank you for that little notification. Is the vaccine safe? And what do they mean by what is safe? I find it really hard to try and find this information on the government sites. It's quite blasé. So hopefully this will help you. So if you have the vaccine, you've got to understand that there's a yellow card system reporting in the UK, and they have VARs or VARs in America. And again, this goes back to why I'm using the CDC, because they make sure their information is logged, and they do put down what the possibility could be so that they can actually allocate finances for the treatment provided. So here is a list of symptoms registered with the CDC up to March 2021. Cases limited to ones with over 84 cases logged against the symptom. Now, I've done that because the list is huge. The list is huge with less than 78. But to put it onto the, to put it out there and show you is, I tried to make it as easy as possible. And judging by the slide earlier, I don't think you're really going to be able to pick this up very well. But here we go. So in here, you can see that headaches are 8,202. So one of the highest things that are logged about how what this vaccine can potentially do to you. Give you a headache, 8,202. And okay, I know what you're thinking. Well, that's just a headache. But I also like to look that little bit. Remember that slide I showed you a little bit earlier with me, not me stood in the roads, but stood in a road looking down on a lonesome scenario. Is if it's causing a headache, why is it causing a headache? Nowhere I can find where it tells me why it's doing that. It's obviously an inflammation somewhere in the brain, and it passes after a couple of days. So really, a couple of weeks is one of those things where you go, well, okay, it passes, so it's no biggie. I mean, one of the biggest ones that you can see is that I could probably see causing issues where half the face might droop, which people might think is a stroke. That goes after like 5 days, apparently. So that's something to look out for if you do have the vaccine. But deaths have been registered, 1,493. Again, you can't guarantee it's to do with the vaccine. It's just that the data that is contained in, for instance, the CDC is that somebody had the vaccine and has died after they've had it. Whether or not it's an hour, it's a week, it's a month, it's a year scenario, doesn't really stipulate. But if I drill down into a lot more data, which would take a lot of time, and I don't think I'll be able. Well, I will be able to give you that, but that will be in like 2 months' time once I finally drill through all the information. Cerebrovascular accident is 255. These are all linked to death. Cardiac arrest 195. Pulmonary embolism 147. You've got COVID-19 pneumonia at 90. These are quite serious conditions or scenarios. Whether or not it's the vaccine doing it, we don't know. Only obviously the professionals can actually do that and tell you. But it's been linked, it's been logged, and this is what I'm reporting on. And there's other things. Loss of personal independence and daily activities, 154. Maybe there's something you see on the list. Let me know in the comments what you think is quite interesting on there. So does that make you feel it's safe? Again, you're probably saying, well, how many people have had the vaccine? How many people have plotted an adverse reaction? Well, do you know what? I thought of that too. So let's go into that a little bit deeper, shall we? And hopefully this will relieve a few of you. Maybe infuriate some others. I don't know. So vaccination stats for the USA was population of 328 million. People vaccinated is 124,408,000. Cases logged 178,885, which means the amount affected was 0.14%. So you're thinking that's 1.4 in every 1,000. Bit of maths there. Here we go. Tell me what you think in the comments again. Here's an interesting thing. Now, I know it's not happening yet, but we know it's coming. And I'm trying to stop this before it happens. Some of the potential issues that you could have by taking the vaccine are headaches or feeling a bit tired, chills, pains, whatever. I know. But again, we still can't ignore, and again, I can't split out the data that would say how many of those 1,493 deaths were actually linked to the vaccine. Obviously, because I can't. It's not actually shown, it's not actually displayed, it's not actually, this is definitely it, because there's nowhere that they are doing post-mortems to see if the vaccine is actually causing this. But we do know, especially with Johnson & Johnson and some of the issues that have been with AstraZeneca, that there is issues and they are being monitored, which means there is things happening. So let's go back to this. 1.4 in every 1,000. So if I'm just going to scroll back to here, anybody under the ages of 18, you are at a amount of 1 in 1,000 or less than 1 in 1,000, and you might potentially be making your child take the vaccine. Chances of survival is greater than 99.9%. I can't say that enough. As for the older groups, I mean, even 18 to 29 is 99.5%. They're blimmin' good odds, aren't they? Let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. So vaccination adverse effects, 1.4 in every 1,000, under 18 in 1,000. So again, make your decision whether you do or don't, or make somebody else take it. What can you do once you vaccinate? So if you vaccinate, I know a lot of you are thinking you just go back to normal, can't you? Or hopefully it will come. Now, again, I don't know what they said in the press conference earlier, but what's interesting is it's still part of it all, isn't it? Can you return to normal activities once you take the vaccine? And the answer is no. You still need to practice social distancing. You still need to wear a face mask. You need to wash your hands carefully, frequently. Open the window to let fresh air in, and follow the current guidelines. Again, this is provided by the Public Health England. Again, the links there below. I'll put them in the comments or in the detail section of this video if you're interested in them. So, facts about the COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of you, when I've spoke to you and helped you get informed consent, is it approved? A few have said to me, yes. I'm like, do you believe that? Does that mean it's licensed? And they're like, well, yes, it's approved. It's not. It's approved, sorry, but it's not licensed. Licensed means it's gone through, or approved means some checks have been done, i.e. instant death doesn't happen the minute they put the vaccine into you. This vaccine hasn't been tried before as well. It's new. So those two things you should be thinking about when you're taking this vaccine. It's approved, yes, for emergency use, which takes me to the next part. It has an EUA status, emergency use authorization, which means that all the bells and whistles and what they would normally do with vaccines haven't been done because they can't. It's physically impossible. You can't test something over 15 years if it's only come out over the last 6 months. Again, and I'm not complaining at them, but what I don't like is the way that in the presentations in number 10, that they keep saying it's approved, it's approved, it's approved, it's approved. It's like trying to be hypnotic. It's approved, it's approved, it's okay, it's safe. How can something be safe if it's only been, trialed for a few months? How can that be safe? We don't know the longevity of what this potentially could do. Now, what I showed you earlier was the AstraZeneca. They're actually using a method that has been, done for, they've used this sort of thing for 10 years as a Jenner company, not Jenner, whatever. Should I quickly go back? Let me just remember what that was. Or is it AstraZeneca? Just quickly go back there. Here we go. The Jenner Institute. How could I forget that? As it says here, this type of vaccine technology has been tested for many other diseases such as influenza, Middle East respiratory syndrome, and other types of coronavirus, where mRNA is, it's had its clinical trials. It's brand new in a way that they did it with the spike protein. So let me know, let me know in the comments, and I'll try and answer them if I can. So EUA does not mean end user agreement. So when you see EUA, now I've only learned this a couple of days ago, that when you go for your vaccine, you have to sign. This is saying that you've been given informed consent, I would believe. I've asked certain individuals that I have in certain places to get me documentary evidence of this so-called signature thing that's required. Because if they say you've received informed consent when you haven't, and as some people I believe haven't, they've told me they haven't. They didn't understand until they spoke to me. I was like, well, okay. Would it have changed you taking it? They're like, well, no, but still, I didn't know that. That's what I was signing. But a lot of people thought EUA meant end user agreement, which is, yeah, in the technology terms, I'm sure when you're clicking on all your tech and stuff and you're clicking it, and it'll be like, especially when you're using your mobile devices, that's probably what you'll see. It's kind of been in your back of your head. Oh, yeah, that's the end user agreement. But actually, no, it means emergency use authorization. So license means years of checks and trials have been carried out, usually between 10 to 15. So do you still think this is safe? Bear that in mind. Again, showed you the stats earlier on the amount of people who've been infected against, again, in America, against how many people have died. So if you take the vaccine, can you still pass on the virus? Well, yes, you can. They clearly say that the vaccine's not 100%. Nothing ever is. They give you figures that seem to be coming from no independent study, but they're coming from the vaccine providers, which is like, well, they can say what they want because the government has already put out there that if you die or have a life limiting disability from taking the vaccine, you will get £150,000 payout. And you can't. Vaccine providers have been given a veto. You cannot take them to court and sue them for loss of life or function that you may have lost due to this vaccine. They are exempt from it. The only people you can go to is the government, and they will give you 150,000. But you have to prove that the vaccine caused it. During the update to the last coronavirus back in November, Matt Hancock had already updated the legal aspects. I checked what they were putting through, and one of them is people, if they die of COVID, can literally no post-mortem needed, and they can be cremated straight away. It means they're getting rid of evidence if you need to go back and find out, whether it was the vaccine. So people who have burials is a different thing. You could, but if you have a loved one and I'm sorry for your loss, unless it's documented that they died of something that was linked to the vaccine, then you wouldn't get that. Can you still get COVID? Yes, you can. It's clearly documented on the government sites. So please bear that in mind. If you're taking the vaccine because you think you won't get, you can't get COVID, you can. I know they say it does reduce it does stop the transference of the disease, or it's quite good at doing that. And if you do catch it, it reduces the symptoms. And it's a possibility. They can't guarantee it because everybody's different, which is fair enough. Again, got no complaints. It's possibly, but they are pushing and saying it will reduce symptoms. But you might be that 1% who don't, or 2%. I don't know. They're not even showing me those figures. I'm trying to find them. Unless you know them, let me know them. That'd be great. So, time to look at some data. So before I go to this next slide, give me 1 second while I have a little drink. Tell me what you're thinking. Care home deaths in 2021. So this is officially from the ons.gov.uk site. Something they push out there, actually. It's been quite interesting. Care home residents' deaths involving COVID-19 in 2020. You can see that information is missing. But 2021, you can see in the last, from 8th of January all the way to the 19th of March, let's just say the 12th of February, the numbers are going up. And then from the 19th of February, they start to come down. But if you notice on the 26th of March here, this is when COVID started to hit. And this is where we didn't have any protection. We just knew, if you remember watching the news, that there's a variant, there's a virus that's come out, and it's like MERS, it's like SARS, and getting a bit worried, and they'll contain it. I'm sure a lot of you, especially me as well, thought this is like MERS, like SARS. Interesting fact about SARS, or was it MERS, one or the other, was 8,000 cases were logged and 800 deaths recorded. That's 10%. And we didn't lock down the whole country. We didn't lock down the whole world. There's an interesting stat for you. And if you don't believe me, look it up. So here we go, 8th of January, all the way through to about 12th of February. Those numbers, we're talking about 8,000 odd people perishing here in care homes. Think for that for a minute. This year, look at all those numbers of people who have died in care homes. And I am really, I can't say this enough for all the people who have experienced this in their families. I say look at those numbers, and I know you might think, oh, well, that's not a really nice way, but I'm astonished by the amount of deaths there. Now, bearing in mind, these care homes have probably not even had a case of COVID in the last year. They've really locked down. They've worked really hard. And the amount of care home out there, you know, staff, they're really upset. I've had a few talk to me. And things are changing on a daily basis. New government guidelines are coming out. You know, and they have to come. If they don't, it's, you know, they can get prosecuted and stuff. And people losing their license because, you know, they might find one thing that is out of line, and then it's like, right, you know, we're shutting you down. You know, people being moved across to other care homes, and they shut down a care home. It's astonishing. It really is. The amount they have to work and how hard they work, and they really do love their residents, and they do work really hard. And seeing those amount of deaths, that, you know, thoughts out to doctors and nurses and consultants and all that as well, with how much they've seen when they've had to even make a decision on who they save as well. So let's go and look at some more of this information. Again, all from the government. Care home residents' deaths or cases or causes in 2021. So 8th of January was 4,110. Care home resident deaths or causes 2020, 3,537. So let me get this right. So last year, I mean, we really kind of want to tick over into the March sort of scenario, but this is when we start to find things are going on, and we would expect the 2020 numbers to be more than 2021, because back in 2020 we had no idea what, you know, was going to happen. Lockdowns, wear masks, wear gloves. And I got to admit, when this first came out, you can check all the live streams that I've done. I made, you know, my partner who lives elsewhere I said, no, you stay in, I'll go out, I'll do the shopping, I'll wear the masks, I'll wear the gloves. My daughter works at Halfords, for instance, so you know, if she catches it, then I'll catch it, and then you can be back up, basically. So because we have separate homes, you know, we don't live together, then that means, you know, if I get locked down, then, you know, you can go and obviously get food and help us. There's no reason to leave home and make yourself, you know, prone to this, or make yourself available to it in one sense. So, you know, I really did lock down. But as the information's come in, as I've started to check the stats and read what the governments are putting out there and other people, I start to say, well, hang on a sec. We've got, you know, looking at this, 3,537 back in January last year to 4,110. Something's not adding up. Maybe you can tell me what you think it is. You know, we get to March, 2,848. Okay, well, that's more than care home residents now, which is 2,531. So come 5th of March, it is more. But if you look at care home residents' deaths over the last about 4 years, you can see that they are all lower, except for 26th of March there, and not right about the March time. Actually, the average actually they kind of went down a little bit. Actually, come to think of it. Now, this is the graph, which is, well, it's shown by the Buckinghamshire dashboard, which shows me back in March last year, April, May and June, we hit 70. But come December 2020, midterm, we start to see the number creeping up. And it should follow a curve like that, which goes in the bad months, in the dark months, as I call them. So December through to about April, May of the next year is when viruses come out, so to speak, and people get affected and death rates go up. It's just year on year. You can check the stats. You can look at them. It's what happens. But here it shoots up. Mid-December, shoots up to over 100 halfway through January. That is more than what we have from last year. Now, we do know from mid-December is when they started pushing the vaccinations out. That's the only reason why that could be more. They'll say it's nothing to do with the vaccine, and I can't confirm, as in I can't say for definite because there's been no postmortems done. But it's more than last year. How can that be? And we know there's more stringent things in place in care homes, in businesses. So why are we getting more? And deaths within 28 days of positive test by date of death. Again, clearly strokes here. 1,000. And we're up to like 1,200 here. Actually, 1,000 and 1,200 here. Look at this curve here. This is what I would naturally expect to see and then come down. But it goes up. This is where the older generation were vaccinating. Now, we do know that Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and the world have had their things where they've said about blood clots and everything. Again, make your own decisions. And, really, I kind of needed to do this about a month ago to maybe raise people's awareness then. But, again, I've been mentioning this to the Aylesbury Met. Look at our vaccine deployment. It goes up very quickly. Very quickly. We hit 30 million by March. So from January to March, it goes up. But if you notice, it actually starts to steady, starts to slow down, which, again, is that curve there coming down? Tell me what you think. So let's have a look at France, because they actually didn't implement it for the older generation. As you can see back here, we have last year, March, to May. And then in November, so this is the bad season, when all hospitals worry about flu and all the other things, which is another thing. The government has turned around and said, we got rid of flu this year. There's no flu. Really? You telling me then that there has been no flu cases? If you think the numbers that have been recorded for COVID are all true, then answer that. Why has flu cases disappeared from the system? How come they're not recording as many? So anyway, here we go. We got France, as you can see, just comes down. It doesn't spike up. I mean, there's a couple of little lines there, but if you look at the trend, look here, it goes up and then down. See the little curve, which is what we would expect at that sort of time of year. Maybe it's a little bit earlier than usual, I think. I'm not too sure. Maybe somebody can let me know there. But then it comes right down. So let me know in the comments. How does that make you feel? Do you think that's exactly right? I'm just... So hospital classing all deaths as COVID. Odds better than stated on GovGraph as based on tests, dodgy tests. So yeah, the PCR. So sorry, somebody just mentioned in a message to me, with PCR tests. That's why I've not really shown you any data about the tests. The tests aren't conclusive. The lateral flow tests, I think they're what? Again, don't quote me on this, 30% probably effective or whatever. You've got an interesting thing that if they say you're positive when you're not, I know you're thinking, well, that's not so bad. But what happens if it's telling you you're negative when you're positive? And if you're into viral theory, please, we won't go into that yet. But if that's the case, then somebody who's infected will be walking to people thinking that they're safe, and they're not. But obviously, if you have a lateral flow, I believe you're supposed to have a PCR done anyway, which are supposed to be better than a lateral flow, but PCR tests weren't made for doing this. PCR tests were made for something totally different. They weren't to be used as a form of understanding that somebody has a virus. So this is the interesting one. This is what I looked up today. And again, if you think I'm getting anything out of this, I'm not. I'm just trying to help and give you informed consent. And you can make your own decisions in life on whether you take or not take the vaccine. What I do worry about is the younger generation and whether or not you will or you won't. Hopefully, seeing that 99.9% of people under 18 do not, 99.9% or greater than 99.9% survive COVID. That's one figure I want you to remember. People under the age of 18, 99.9% survive COVID. So this is the coronavirus weekly summary of the yellow card reporting system. So again, the information recorded on the yellow card system is hopefully people logging in. And that means once you've had this vaccine, you are part of a trial. It's experimental because they don't know. They literally don't know where this is going. And that's why they really want you. And everybody should know about the yellow card reporting system. I'm sure can you let me know in the comments? Let me know whether or not you knew about the yellow card system. Did they make you aware of it? Because you should log it with them. What I do find quite interesting is you can actually log it with the vaccine provider that you've had when that shouldn't be the case. Why would you give it to people? I mean, they're obliged to let the government know that they have those figures. But my point is why would you not collate it all at the one place, which is the yellow card? So take my advice, report to the yellow card reporting system. Don't send it to Pfizer, AstraZeneca. They should only be giving you one place to put your information so that you can collate it quite easily. I'm sure they have systems in place that will allow them to work out, to alert if something starts to link up. Anyway, what it states in here is something I just learned today. And I put this in at the last minute. Again, I needed longer to do this presentation or this live stream because of this. Well, not because of this, but because of all the information that's coming out constantly. The overall reporting rate is in order of 3 to 6 yellow cards per 1,000. So remember, we're working with the 1 in 1,000 if you're under 18. So the overall reporting rate is in the order of 3 to 6 yellow cards per 1,000 doses administered for both vaccines. It is known from the clinical trials that the more common side effects for both vaccines can occur at a rate of more than 1 in 10 doses. For example, local reactions or symptoms resembling transient flu-like symptoms. More than 1 in 10. Think about that for a minute. I'm looking at data and then I come across this today and I've made that bigger, more than. I should have actually made more than, obviously in bold, more. If you notice, they've taken the number. They haven't used the number 1. They've used the word 1, and then they put a number. So when I was scanning through it to try and find it again, because I was reading it on another device, I then had to read through all of this, and then I've obviously found it, and then I put it on this slide. But more than 1 in 10. If we go back through all this lovely work that I've done, hopefully, this is giving you a little bit of informed consent. 1 in 10. Now you're hitting the 50 to 64-year-olds. That's 1 in 5. Sorry, 1 in 10. Here we go. 50 to 64-year-olds. That's quite a lot more than what I was initially saying. 0.143%. So what aren't they telling us? Why aren't they showing us? Why? I mean, I'm confused. Just today, reading that, I was like, more than 1 in 10 doses. Again, I've provided the link at the bottom there. I'll put it in the description below, and I'll put it in the comments as well. Well, I'll put it in the description below. Tell me what you think of that. Is that a little bit more worrying? That 1 in 10 in the trial, more than 1 in 10, logged adverse reactions. Do you still think the vaccine is safe? Again, only you can decide. I'm just showing you the information. Whether you take it or not, it doesn't bother me. I mean, kind of bothers me a little bit for under 18s. But for yourself, hopefully you will see for yourself whether or not you want to take a chance. Basically, because that's what it is. You're taking a chance if you take the vaccine and if you don't take the vaccine, because if you don't take the vaccine, you're going to gamble with nature. That's what I'm going to do. If you're taking the vaccine, then you've also got to think about, okay, would I get adverse reactions? Again, I thought 0.143%, but now we've gone to, we're basically talking more than 10%. So they they haven't said 11%, but let's just say 10%. So 1 in 10. What do you think? Let me know. Do you think the vaccine is still safe? How many of you don't really care? Put it in the comments. Again, just like to engage with all this and find out. And how many are thinking, well, I wasn't told any of this? And this is what you should be told, the informed consent. It's their it's part of international rights to do that. They have to let you know from the Nuremberg Code. The vaccine is gene therapy. It's not like previous vaccines. So previously, with this mRNA, they code it in a protein or whatever, and they wrap it all up, and they inject that into you, which gets past your immune system, goes in, or your defense system, goes into your immune system, and it creates, they have a genetic code, the genome. They put that code, and it produces basically a little bit of the virus in a way. Nobody's been able to confirm that to me. That's another thing I'll just state. Nobody's actually confirmed that. I've not seen any documents that actually says that. That's the only way I can kind of explain it. Because people say, well, explain, they talk about T cells. And, I'm not a medical professional, but I should have this information readily available, in Martin talk, Smiler talk, so that I can read it out quite easily and set people's minds at ease. But I've even asked, this is what I find really interesting. I've even asked people with medical backgrounds to look into this for me, and they haven't. And I mean, people who have just taken the vaccine. I find that astonishing. I find that really astonishing that I'm asking them, and this is way before the vaccines come available. I've only just, I find it amazing that if you have the medical knowledge, you've trained at university, you understand. And I ask you say, I don't know. Well, could you look into it for me, please? And they haven't. And they've gone ahead and had the vaccine. Find that very interesting. Very interesting. It goes for friends as well. Friends I know have taken the vaccine. Don't really know much about it. I try and explain to them. They don't really care. And it's like, fine. I'm giving you informed consent. That's all it is. Giving you informed consent so you can make your decision. I'm sure some people who haven't taken the vaccine will probably think about taking the vaccine now. Because they looked at their odds and they're like, oh, like especially if you're over 85, 1 in 3 don't make it. That's quite big odds. And if you've got underlying conditions, which chances are the older you are going to have, well, conditions. If they're underlying, I suppose you don't know about them. And that's why I'm calling it informed. It's because no matter how I feel, you can look at these stats and hopefully I'm putting them in a nice way for you. So it doesn't confuse you. It kind of just gives you that idea of, well, okay, I'm unsure. And thank you, because I now can do this. Please put in the comments. If whichever way you've gone, again, I'd just like to know. Again, I can lose the channel for doing this because of the way big tech is clamping down on anybody who might talk out against this sort of information. They don't want you presenting. They want you in a nice, happy-go-lucky, oh, look, the vaccine's all great. It's experimental. They haven't done years. And again, they can't do years of research because it's only just been done. They've only just created it. Again, not having to go to government for that. Just the way they're saying it's approved. Approved doesn't mean it's licensed. And there was a thing. Oh, I should have done that. I was just about to grab something there, which was going to say about Patrick Vallance, or whatever his name is. Sorry, I need to bring this back up. Give me 1 second, people. I don't know what I've done there. I don't know how I broke it. I just killed the presentation. I was going to... He grabbed... Well, I'll try and do two things at once. Here we go. Watching a guy trying to do two things at once. He grabbed a aspirin the document that you get inside. I think I've got one here. Try not to hit the key again, Martin. Try not to hit the key. Right. This has come from a medical professional, by the way. This is what he said. He's like, no vaccine is 100% effective. Okay. And he says, everything you take, and honestly, he's right. And I've said this for many, many months now. Hey, look, I was able to do something and talk and do two things at once. How clever am I? Everything you eat, everything you drink has a risk attached to it. That's my cat knocking over a box. Let me know in the comments, do you ever think of that? Somebody who has a peanut allergy has to think about how their food is prepped. They have to think, well, before it even gets to them, is there any chance that peanut in any shape, way or form could be anywhere near the food that they're eating? Because, they need their EpiPen right next to them. So anyway, Patrick Valance, I think it was Patrick Valance. Anyway, showed like, if you take this is paracetamol. It's got a list of serious side effects: skin rashes, itching, difficulty breathing, swollen face, unusual bruising or bleeding, throat and mouth ulcers or bleeding gums accompanied by tiredness and flu-like symptoms. Other side effects: blood problems, including anemia, pain in the lower back and groin. Didn't know that. Actually, I've just read that. Didn't know that. Tell me, did you know that? Changes in your urine, pancreatitis, and hepatitis. Didn't even know that. Again, we don't even, clearly documented there, just a normal paracetamol thing. So you said, see, that's that. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Government official, who should be looking after the mankind and telling people quite correctly, is this has had years, if not decades, of checks and trials. Don't sit on the big box, with the in number 10, spouting off about something like this with all your medical PhD and whatever and companies that you've worked for, and now I have this big position at number 10, and show something like this without giving the full consent. This has had so many trials done against it for longevity. Longevity is the biggest thing here. What will happen in a year, 5 years, 10 years after you take this? That's already been done. Understand that. That's already been done with this. This means nothing in what you were saying. But yes, it's got risks, and I've got to kind of learn a couple of new ones. But how does that make you feel? By saying that, how it made me feel was very angry, because I'm looking at that going, why is he using that? I've used that, and I've explained to people everything that you take has a risk. Well, especially if you're like having steak, what chemicals have been pumped into that steak? You've got to understand that. In America, they radiate a lot of their food. Have you ever thought about that when you eat over there? They all have risks. But to use something like that was disgusting and shameful. If anything, they should be pulled up in front of the medical board and told to explain themselves on why he did that. Again, moving the stats, moving it to the way he wants, kind of pushing the narrative. Get a vaccine. Because look, it all has this. Yeah, it does. But that's had a lot of medical research done against it. How I'd like to have been in that room so I could have said that to him. Again, it's gene therapy anyway, the vaccine. Again, I need a drink, get a bit of a dry throat. Let me know in the comments what you're drinking as well. It's not like previous vaccines, because previous vaccines, they'll use an inactivated part of a virus, and then obviously wrap that all up, put that inside you. Your body's attack that. Excuse me. Your body's attack that. They see that foreign entity, and your antibodies come out and attack. Eat away. Yep, job done. And hopefully, you survive. With this vaccine, it's going in, especially with the Pfizer one, especially the mRNA, and I believe, obviously with AstraZeneca and all the others, they put this in, and then what it does, again, it goes past your immune system. It goes through all your normal mechanisms that would find this a threat. It's kind of smuggled in, and then your body produces this antigen or T cell or spike protein. I'm not medically trained. Again, trying to portray that to you enough. And then that's how the antibodies start to come about. But your body's got to produce this. It's got to produce this sort of, protein which in all the body understands as COVID. If we're vaccinating quite a lot of people, and as I showed you, those deaths were going up, and those people were reported as COVID, and they're saying, these are just COVID deaths. Somehow it's got into the care home. Could it possibly? It's just a theory, and I saw some of you are saying conspiracy theory. It's just a theory. Could that possibly be something to do with it? Did they keep on producing this, protein that the antibodies were attacking, and then either, just produced too much. Body couldn't deal with it, and people died. Again, 1 in 3 chance. Here's another theory to throw in there. Just trying to help you out here. Again, only you can make a decision. Only you can make a decision for your own life on what you think is right or wrong. And then I have no right to say whether you should or you shouldn't. It's your decision, which is, again, totally fine on whether you do or you don't take the vaccine. But think about that. Again, I would love somebody, if there's anybody out there who could answer that question exactly why that wouldn't be the case. Because somebody, for instance, let me take this instance of years ago when I was a student at university, the police came up against me. Not come up against me. They came to me. They saw me drinking snake bite and black. So I was like, hello, officer. And they had this reaction test. So to say why you don't drink and drive. So I was like, okay, it's interesting. Okay. They said, what are you drinking there? And of course, snake bite and black is kind of illegal sort of thing in a way. I was like, snake bite and black. Didn't actually tell him that. I said he kind of deferred that it was, but anyway, or inferred. So I was told to down my drink, which was quite nice. Been told by a couple of you must down your drink to do this test. Quite interesting. Did that. We then done a test. So red light comes on and I had to brake, which it did. I did. And I had really good reactions. And he said, oh, okay, that's interesting. Because you've got quite good reactions, actually, even after a pint. So I was like, okay. He goes, but that doesn't mean you should go out and drive. I said, no, one of these, you shouldn't get in the car and drive. So, but he also said, as you get older, your reactions slow down. So potentially a drink that you take, so imagine you had a 1 millisecond reaction time, when you become 50, you could have 5 milliseconds. That's what happens in life. Things slow down. And could this be the possibility? Could this theory that I'm saying about, if you're a medical person, you could let me know and send me a link, and I'll push out there. That's if it literally lets me understand why that couldn't be a possibility. That the immune system creating this spike protein didn't create too much. I don't know. Let me know. Ooh. Stockholm syndrome. I put this in at the end. I'm sure a lot of you are kind of saying, thank God. Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is a psychological response. It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors and their abusers. This psychological connection develops over the course of the days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity or abuse. Isn't that what we're getting? Lockdown, stay in your home, fines for going outside, arrests for not complying. Or is the only reason you're taking this vaccine so that we can just go back to normal? I mean, that's what they say all the time, isn't it? Take this and we can get back to normal. Why do you have to take something that potentially could cause you your life? And I know vaccine passports. There's another good thing, isn't there? Vaccine passports. Let's stop anybody from flying who hasn't had a vaccine, or going anywhere, going to the pub, going to the gym, doing this. Okay. Well, what about the people who've had COVID? I know if I was given the opportunity, if they made it mandatory to take a vaccine, I'd rather walk into a COVID ward than take a vaccine at this current time until I knew more in regards to what this vaccine does over a longevity of time. Let me know your thoughts on what I've just said. Now, I'm putting myself out there, and I'm sure I'm going to have a few comments who do state to me that, oh, you're an idiot. And I'm sure, everybody's entitled to their own ideas. But stopping people from being able to do something because you may have the virus when clearly they've stated that if you take the vaccine, you can still pass it on. That's a bit weird. Why? Because you've taken the vaccine. And there's another thing, shedding. I'm sure a lot of you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you're accumulating, your body's producing this, protein. And let's just say, for instance, maybe I could be right in my theory or my really weird theory, and some of you might say that it does create the virus in a way. It just escalates. It gets big, and then all of a sudden it becomes big, and it is COVID, and that's why it's showing up in tests as COVID. If it's producing and it's creating all of this, then there's a chance that you could actually believe your body's quite unique. It's clever. It's really clever, and especially if you speak to people who into viral theory, is your body tries to push out and get rid of toxins and stuff. It tries its best to keep us alive, and our bodies are amazing. Whether you're fat, you're thin, you're tall, you're short, young or old, our bodies are amazing. It's how people, for instance, who smoked from whenever, they're still alive at 102, 10 or whatever. So it's all weird. It doesn't matter. It's just amazing. But if you've taken this vaccine, your body has to produce something, which means you could be pushing this out there. And as the stats kind of show, and my kind of like, well, I can't guarantee that is the case. There is a possibility that it could be COVID. And if that's the case, so for 2 weeks after taking the vaccine, I believe that's the magical couple of weeks, if not 3, where really you shouldn't really go out. Just make sure that your body deals with it in the right way, and the vaccine works in the right sort of message. And that's another thing. Why does the government? Why are they really pushing down and stopping certain information from getting out, and not displaying it enough? Because I can't see anywhere that gets rid of that theory from me. I'm not fanning it. And if anybody's out there and it, please send me it so I can read it. I've read so much that I'm literally, my brain is just absorbing so much information that, it would be really nice if people could just send me stuff so that I could, read it, and actually it's verified from a government source. So it's kind of like, okay, well, there we go. And also independent. So can we have an independent research and a government so that they go, yes, we both agree. So let's take, for instance, last year's Centevax, something I was big on. I pushed out a lot of videos, and I linked a little video I did for Centevax, asking people to literally donate to them. It was owned by Distributed Bio, Jacob Glanville. And what was amazing about this is Centevax was a therapeutic, monoclonal therapeutic, which basically means they grow the antibodies that work within 2 hours of entering your body. So they'll use an IV. And I let MP Greg Smith know about this. I asked him to educate the cabinet. Just let them know that this is available. It's 97% effective against stopping COVID. In its tracks, literally starts working within 2 hours, because these are the antibodies that you need. And so it cost $100, I think, per shot, or per IV or whatever. I'm not sure. But what was interesting about it, really, I was pushing about it, was only the people who needed it had to take it. And you could also use it as a prophylactic. So people in the care system could actually take it, and they'll be good for 3 months. It is expensive, though. But if you think about, we're vaccinating every single person in the world sort of scenario, is that cheaper than actually just dealing with the people who've got COVID and the people who need hospitalization? Remember, this goes back from months ago. 1% of the this is what the government pushed forward. 1% of the population will need hospital treatment when it comes to COVID. And we're still below that number. We're still way below that from the last time I looked. So, and there's other drugs out there. Hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D, apparently that all helps. The government has suppressed and said that information or that trial didn't show anything helpful, which makes you think, well, why can't people? It's licensed, but not to be used as COVID-19, which means a medical practitioner can't use it. Why, if you believe and you've checked out your stuff, you can go to a medical person and say, doctor, you know, my relative or whoever is there, why can't they have vitamin D or hydroxychloroquine? It's easily available. It's out there. There's another one as well. Hopefully, AMG, you can help me out and put that down in the messages. I'm trying not to kill off my presentation thing. Oh yeah, Jonathan Van Tam. Thank you, AMG. yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to do. I need another 3 screens to look at all the information. So there is drugs available that have clearly stated that they do help, but again, they've been totally thrown out on, especially on social media. You need to go to new things like new YouTube and whatever to peek beneath the blanket so that you understand, so you can see that there's possibilities out there. But Centevax was, going back to that, monoclonal antibody therapeutic, works within 2 hours or starts working within 2 hours, and you only need to really give it to people who are already ill enough to go to hospital. Because remember, if you can survive COVID, and there's a great chance that you can. Remember, all the stats that I've showed you is, you have a greater chance of survival than you do of death. So your body will create the antibodies. So let's go back to the vaccine passports. So if you have the antibodies, why do you need to be vaccinated? Why? I don't understand. And the government pushes through in all their sites and stuff, and on number 10, you should still be vaccinated. Why? What's the difference between an antibody that the body, our natural body, has created to one that is kind of man-made with a fictional code, a gene therapy that is technically illegal to do anyway? But we've got that. We've got this code that our body's going to produce this viral particle. Ivermectin. There we go. Is it ivermectin? Ivermectin. There we go. Ivermectin. There we go. There's another drug that's out there that has been pushed out. The same that's happening. That it actually works and people have pulled through with. So where does that come from? I mean, literally, you need a vaccine passport, to do anything. So the government is forcing us who don't want to take the vaccine, who would rather let Mother Nature. Again, I even forgot what percentage I am. Anybody, here you go, put it out there. Anybody remember what percentage I am? See if you can remember from earlier. Here you go. I feel like a teacher now teaching. It's weird. It's really weird that a vaccine passport, and how anybody can think that the government doing this is right. I think you need to really look at what information is there for you to make that assumption. So you've got to ask yourself, if the reason you're taking the vaccine or forcing, that's what this is doing by doing, it drives me nuts that if you don't take the vaccine, you then are not allowed to go out and play. So you're saying you've got to take a chance, 0.143%, or as the government has clearly, as I showed you earlier, greater than 1 in 10 chance of having an adverse reaction to this vaccine. So I've got to take a chance. Nobody's put down. Okay. 97% chance of survival is mine for my age group, I believe. So why? For the sake of 3%? I've played poker. I play with percentages, for far less than that, even 40%, I've gone all in. I'm 97% sure I'm gonna, survive. And if I'm part of that 3%, then so be it. It's the way life is. Sometimes you don't get a choice. Sometimes, decisions are made for you. But I would rather leave this country. And I'll tell you what, the government, take this, and especially if you're watching, especially whatever secret organizations that are out there who monitor everything that goes out there. You can pay me to leave the country because you're breaking our contract. There is a contract there. And, MPs are paid and they've given up the right to the Prime Minister to allow tyranny. And I brought this to MP Greg Smith's attention back in March last year. Ibuprofen team, he says no, because he needs to be able to just get on and protect the country. And it's like, okay, fair enough. All right, then maybe I'm wrong, But look at the lockdowns that we have. Now, there is a slide I really would love to show you, which is what the government has done over the last year. And again, I'm leaving this up there, the Stockholm Syndrome. Think, you've been locked away, you've been kept away, and you think that wearing one of these will stop you from getting the virus if it's so contagious. I mean, the virus can get through this. I mean, these are only good for 15 minutes, by the way. They are literally no good after 15, I believe. I mean, if you're a medical practitioner or anything, you can tell me, let me know, or if somebody can send me something that says, these can last for a whole day. These can last for in and out of your pocket 50 times a day. What parts of information are you people looking at? When again, think. I'm just trying to help you understand that this is what I see in every day. I see people putting these on and then put them in the pocket, come out of one, go down, and then obviously they put it on again. As soon as you touch it, you need to throw it in the bin. If you're really worried, if you really think if you're going to force people to take the vaccine, if you're going to be given that the big massive tick, but you wear one of these and say, I'm safe, and just wear it for the whole day or maybe a week, whatever, I don't know. Or even those lovely little fabric ones you can buy online that have virtually no protection anyway. People are walking in the street and they literally don't, you get looked at. I walk in the street without a mask on because we're in open spaces. We're walking the street, the chance of catching it. I don't think it's as easy to catch as they say. If it was, then the stats that I've looked at, and I've actually calculated myself based on 2.4 people in a family, one comes home, is caught COVID, then spreads it to the other three, or other three, 2.4, whatever, spreads it, then technically by now everybody should have already had it. It's an interest that. Just think of that for a minute. So if you go out, you get fined if or arrested. And I've seen people getting arrested for. I haven't physically seen them get arrested, to be honest. I've been sent a lot of stuff. There was an incident down in Fulham, which I couldn't believe, where there was like 20 policemen and women around one individual, arms behind the back. But then I've seen a video of, shout out to the Aylesbury or Thames Valley Police, where a copper was really nice to a person who was kind of winding them up a little bit, but he done really well. And, hats off. I will give credit where credit is due. But what I saw happening in Fulham, where a woman was arrested because the police were having a go at a young lady with 2 children, and she stepped in, said something, and ended up getting arrested. Same with a journalist as well, got arrested. They told him to move on, he didn't, and so they arrested him. You might think, well, okay, well, he should have just moved on. They shouldn't have been there. Apparently, there's supposed to be a demonstration there, for instance. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got the right to protest. You have the right. We have the right. But only last month they came in with, you can protest, but as long as you do it quietly. What the hell's that about? The whole idea is you're supposed to be heard. We're not allowed people to demonstrate? Really? Okay. If you're happy with that, let me know in the comments. You think people shouldn't be able to demonstrate and say that they're unhappy? How many people were like, who go to the freedom rallies get literally grabbed when they come off the trains by the police? Interesting how, and again, some really good police out there, and I'm sure there's some really bad ones. I do have a contact. I did speak to them. I've sent them both those videos I just talked about. And hats off again to the Aylesbury Thames Valley Police for the way that they dealt with the situation and done it in a very professional manner. So that one police officer, there was a couple there. Maybe that's up to you if you find it and you see it. If you want to know what it is, let me know. I'll send you a link. But Fulham, they put no comment to me. No comment. If you want a link to that, I'll send you that as well. I've seen a demonstration in London where they've pulled the chair from a very old person, I'm talking probably 80. I don't know how old they were. I'll send a link to that if you want. If you think people aren't being held down and stopped and literally been manhandled because of government policy, then think again. Because again, if my channel disappears off, there goes another form of income. It will be because of government policy. Why are they fearing so much that you might hear some information that might not make it look good about, for instance, the vaccine or what's going on out there? And I know there's police out there who don't like what's going on. They don't like having to fine people or arrest people. They don't want to do it. Nobody would, they just want to get on with catching crooks. People demonstrating, isn't it? But anyway, fines, arrests, lockdowns. You tell me, do you really think, again, if you watched the number 10 update earlier, let me know in case I probably cover stuff that they're going to do. Who knows? I'll watch it later. Oh, I've already talked about vaccine passports. Got ahead of myself. Apologies, people. Right, here we go. This is interesting. The 30 universal human rights also cover up freedom of opinion, expression, thought, and religion. Now, like in true Blue Peter fashion, I do have another cup of coffee here. Let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you think. Again, I know that you probably don't want to comment in one respect because you don't want to be vilified if you say you're not going to do something or you are going to do something. Let's not vilify people. I'm standing out here. You see my face. I'm talking. I'm telling. I'm saying. Write in the comments. I'll reply back to you as well, especially after you're watching this as they call the replay. Do follow, do share. Let's talk about this. And if you want more live streams and you want to come on and talk about it, by all means, let's do it. Because only when fear is such a bad thing, it can cause so many medical problems that you can end up having a heart attack through worrying so much. I hope that somebody who was, thinking about not taking the vaccine has now thought, well, actually, I looked and I've seen everything that you've done and I'm going to take the vaccine. You think, oh, hey, didn't work there, did it? Well, actually, no, because they've got informed consent. They now know that they can make a decision based on what they believe is right, and they will feel a whole lot better. I'll tell you quickly before we go into this universal human rights. It's everybody's right to make a decision for themselves and not be sheeped into a certain way, not to be cornered. Like I said, I'd rather leave this country than take this jab. Why? Because why are you forcing the issue? Why do I need to take what? And I know some of you are probably shouting at the screen right now to stop it, to stop the transmission, to reduce chances of infection. What part of it don't you understand? Well, I'll tell you what then. If you're going to do that, if that's the reason why, then you think forcing people to take the vaccine is the way to do it. Because if you vaccinate, if you take this vaccine, you're protected. Remember, that's what you think. Even though I've shown you that that's not exactly the case. But the government is pushing forward, and so is the vaccine researchers that it's not 100% effective, but it's a form of protection. So if you feel safe, then there's the other variants as well to go through. Once you take this, there's another variant coming, so you're gonna have to take another vaccine. And then another vaccine, and then another. There's 4 different variants. What did we go through? You got Brazil, you've got South Africa, and I am sure you've got Timbuktu somewhere coming out. So you're going to keep on taking vaccines? You're going to keep on putting your body under this pressure? I don't know. Where your normal antibody can, deal with it. But then again, if you think it will protect you, then fine, take it. But don't force other people. Don't think that's right. So the 30 universal human rights also cover up freedom of opinion, expression, thoughts, and religion. So what are the 30 basic human rights? Here are a full list of 30 human rights according to Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, by United Nations, signed in Paris on December 10th, 1948. This is kind of like the end of my thing, by the way. I'm sure I said that a little bit a while ago, but this is definitely coming to the end. All human beings are free and equal. Totally agree with that. Black Lives Matter. That's, female rights and all that. I mean, everybody's right matters. Everybody's color matters. There should be no prejudice. There should be no, again, whatever religion, you know, when I was working in London during the bombings, you know, somebody said, well, what happens if somebody said, oh, open up your bag and have a look, if that makes them feel safe? Are people talking about, for instance, Muslims? And I was like, do you seriously think every Muslim is like that? You need to look at other religions in the world and what's happened. You know, it's a small minority. You've got to understand that. All human beings are free and equal. It's interesting they say free and equal, but there we go. No discrimination. Again, stop. You know, is the government allowing discrimination to happen? Vaccine passports? If you don't do this, you can't do that. You can't leave the country. Right to life? Technically, if you take this vaccine and you do die from it, they've just broken that. No slavery? Well, I can, you know, I could really go into that, but I won't. No torture or inhumane treatment. Let me know what you think of that one. Same right to use law. Well, that's interesting. When Matt Hancock in the courts recently, in regards to using his privilege to get contracts to, or have contract to his friends, equal before the law. Yes, that's why we have the jury. We have all that, which is interesting because the jury is really supposed to be the ones who say how long the sentence should be. Should be the judge. That's for another show, though. Right to be treated fair by court. Yes. No unfair detainment. No. So number 9, no unfair detainment. Anybody know? And let us know, because I don't know the actual figures, how many cases actually were successful by the police in people who were at demonstrations or who were out walking, who didn't supply information? Because you might not know this, but I've read the Coronavirus Act, and if you are homeless, you have nothing to worry about. You are not part of the act. You can't be arrested for it if you are homeless. Clearly states that. That's why they rounded up everybody and put them, if they were homeless, in accommodation. It wasn't because they were feeling good and they wanted to protect everybody. It's because they written in the law, if you're homeless, this does not apply. And that's the point. As soon as you have a place to live, you can then be given that lovely Stockholm syndrome. Here we go. Here's a fine for not obeying. And people have been detained. No unfair detainment. I mean, come on. People have been arrested, manhandled, just disgustingly. Right to a trial. Okay, they just literally give out this, you know, this fine, and I suppose if you don't pay, you then go to court. So there you go, you got your right there. Innocent until proven guilty. Well, when a copper comes up to you and says, what's your name, what's your address? It's like, well, the law actually states that. Am I doing anything wrong or illegal? Well, no. Well, then you don't need to know my name and why do you need that? Well, I need to record it. Why? What's the possibility? And I know a lot of you will say, well, what's the matter? Just give them your name, man. Doesn't matter. Well, sometimes just because you have, you know, you need to protect your right. I'm sure if somebody came up to you and punched you in the face, you go, let that be. They're just probably having a bad day. No, you'd phone the police. And some people don't want to give that up, and they have the right to do that. But again, if you do that, well, if you do say, oh, well, I'm homeless, then they can detain you under the Terrorism Act, basically, because they need to find out who you are. That's what they'll say. Don't worry, I've checked this all out. I've asked certain officers as well. Innocent until proven guilty. Right, okay. Right to privacy. How is that track and trace going for you people? Right to privacy. Do you know that it's already been put into the operating systems of your mobile devices? They know already where you are. If you don't think they do, then you know, is that privacy? Well, if you're somewhere and you shouldn't be, then you're breaking the law, so they should. Yeah, but they're tracking you, and usually they used to have a warrant for that, and they had to, you're obviously a arch criminal for that sort of thing. But now they can just track you and just keep an eye on where you are. I mean, again, what you take of that is up to you. Freedom to movement and residence. Freedom to movement. Let me get this. So, do we have freedom to movement? This human right was signed in Paris on 10th of December 1948 after World War II. Freedom to movement and residence. Right to asylum is number 14. Right to nationality is 15. 16, rights to marry and have family. 17, rights to own things. This is interesting. Have you heard of the World Economic Forum? If you've not, watched some later. I'll explain that all in some other video, because there was a lot of debt going on here and we could lose our freedoms. There's a possibility, because you will own nothing and be happy. Take that, people. You will own nothing and be happy. So if you own a house, you will sign it over and be happy, by the way. Thank you, World Economic Forum. You're amazing. Look them up if you don't know. There's a lot going on out there and stuff I have to trawl through for quite a lot. So, right to own things. Freedom of thought and religion. That's kind of like, well, yeah, we have got a freedom of thought because we can think what we are, but I don't know, look at the ingredients. We might find something different in the vaccine that could change that. Freedom of opinion and expression. Okay, why are we being suppressed on social media? Why are people being removed? Well, Facebook. I've been removed on Facebook. Why is that happening? But again, that's with Facebook. It's their platform. In one way, I can't really complain, because if they decide they don't like me, I suppose they have every right to take me off, just like YouTube can, Twitter, and all the other ones. But to say that they're free and whatever, I don't know. Right to assemble. Do we have the rights to assemble? Well, no, they took our rights to demonstrate. Think of that. Rights to demonstrate. Rights to assemble. And they're looking at obviously making us do it quietly. Right to democracy. Yeah, well, I do try and show democracy. Quite interesting what I said earlier. The jury apparently are supposed to actually give out the term for in a court case, how long the person gets sent down if found guilty. And you've got to ask the question, actually, you are, judged by your peers. Well, actually, your peers making a decision on how long you should be detained for is interesting. Interesting as well. We're detained for even doing this video, I believe. I believe the police have got some rule now. I can't remember, whatever. If they do, they come knocking and I disappear off of here. You know why. I'm sure some people have put it out there. He's been arrested, people, because they weren't happy with what he'd done. So right to assemble. No, we don't have that. That's been removed. We have that right. I mean, it's only because thousands of people demonstrated. Like how many of you saw the demonstration for the girl who lost her life to a police officer and how the police treated them? And then Black Lives Matter, and the freedom marches. It's only because they're in mass that the police can't really grab every single one. They do try and stop people from approaching. I've seen videos of people being arrested. This woman videoed one person being arrested. It was obviously he was going to a protest. He had a tannoy thing, and all that. And the police have him up against the wall, or against a shop face, actually. The woman walks past with her husband and says, "Oh, are they part of the march or whatever?" And the cop says, "What's it got to do with you? Keep walking." Actually, who are you? What? And she was like, I'm okay," and starts walking off very quickly with her half. 5-6 coppers eventually chase after them. They're just trying to get away. Oh my God, what's going on? And then they get arrested. Very interesting. So right to democracy. I tried to show that in the last election, tried to allow every single voice who was going up for an MP position. I gave people who never got a minute's bit of output, whether it was on radio, TV, or in paper. I got them out there and I let them speak their piece and allowed them, provided it didn't cause, for instance, hatred, then yeah, it was fine. But I had no ability to do that too. I allowed everybody the opportunity, no matter what party. And that makes another thing. If you are going for a councillor, let me know. I want to interview every single councillor going in Buckinghamshire. And you know what? Sod it. Across the whole country, I don't care. Let's get you in there. Let's get you out there and let people see what you're about. And hopefully we can get you as councillor if people like you enough. That's what democracy is all about. Right to social security, right to work, right to rest. That's interesting, didn't know that. Right to rest and holiday. Man, own your own business, especially at this time in the world. And yeah, holiday. Well, I know a lot of you saying, well, there's no holiday anyway. But right to rest and holiday. Hopefully, I'll be able to holiday when this is all over. Believe me, I would rather not be doing this and dealing with all other businesses that I can deal with. But due to lockdown and due to how serious this is, that's why I'm doing this. Right to social service, right to education. Again, very interesting. Different educational establishments and how they got kids to educate in lockdown. Very, very interesting. But again, we do have right to education because we can actually go to school and go to college, go to uni. Right of cultural and art. It's interesting, isn't it? They can't do that. Can't go to any museums, blah, blah. Freedom around the world. Okay, there's some countries you probably want to go to, but again, that's still there. Subject to law, and human rights can't be taken away. That's the big one here. Human rights can't be taken away. So let me know your thoughts. If you looked at all of that, after I just read that all out, you said, well, but definitely not this, definitely not. None of them can be broken. And that's by the United Nations. So countries have signed up who are part of the United Nations. They have signed up to these 30 human rights. AMR, do me a favor. AMG, sorry. Do me a favor. If I missed anything, let me know quickly, and I'll try and cover that off. So 30 was human rights can't be taken away. Nothing in this is what's written, and this is what has been signed up by all countries in the United Nations. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or personal any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. So those are all universal declarations of human rights listed by United Nations General Assembly. All universal human rights list above commonly known as 30 basic human rights that must be respected and protected by the law. Where are you, United Nations? Where are you? Is it because a lot of the countries that are pushing forward with this are literally at the forefront of vaccine development? Is it? Is it because all the people that, pay in to all these relevant organizations that, are think tanks, United Nations? Why are the United Nations standing aside and not making sure that everybody who's signed up to this doesn't, stop people's human rights? And now I know the MPs have given away our rights to Boris, but why is that happening? Why is our basic human rights being affected and withdrawn? And nobody, except for people, and only by people standing up. And again, whether you take the vaccine or not, it doesn't matter here. This is human rights. You can take the vaccine. Again, I don't mind. Thank you for joining the experiment. If you don't take the vaccine, great for you. Good luck. And hopefully, your percentage will be in your favor. Same, if you take the vaccine. I don't want anybody to die. I want everybody to have a good, full, wonderful life. But our basic rights have been removed. Our MPs have allowed this, and Keir Starmer, who's supposed to be the opposition, is supposed to attack all this. He got he got basically told to get out by a pub landlord the other day or yesterday. Very interesting that. Look that up. Quite interesting. MPs are sitting by and not letting us. There's a few good ones, and actually, MG, let me know who they are who actually are speaking out about our fundamental rights, our fundamental human rights. I want to bring you on as I come to a close, as I land the plane. It goes out to some of the people in the who I know or people have some dealings with. Patent 2020-060606 filed on 20th of the 6th, 2019. It's all about cryptocurrency. It's all about the way the body works, how it can be used with this ingredient called PEG. You know, basically it's nanites. And a lot of you are thinking, oh, God, this is a conspiracy theory. Well, it's not, because it's out there in the real world. And I'll bring it up in a second and look it up for you so you can see that it's actually been logged. And it's all part of how using nanites, which will go into your body, they will somehow get these nanites in your body. It will fill your body up, yeah, and it will tap in. It will, you know, you will become the Borg. No, you won't become the Borg. You're literally, you know, it will emit for you. It will give out information to devices or receivers that will tell. This is. I don't know. You might be thinking it's far out there, but I found it really interesting when I found this. You know, and again, it's got 2020 060606. You know, did they mean it to be that number? I don't know. That's really, you know, I just see 666 there. Sign of the devil. Take it on yourself if you're religious or not, or whatever. You just think, whatever, mate. Don't care. Just noticed it. WO 2020 0606. World order. New world order? Who knows? There's one for you. New world order. Look into that. Yeah. Cryptocurrency. So you'll have this stuff inside you. It's called a peg. And whatever, nanites, they sit in your body, and then you will be given money for a set task, which is Bitcoin. And I know a lot of you out there going, oh man, seriously. Nah, next level. Everything was good until you got to this point. And again, if I didn't show this, it wouldn't be right, because I want people to be little bit, look, this is out there as well. And I just think it's interesting. You know, whether or not this is true, I don't know. But again, Bitcoin since September 2020 has shot up to over £40,000. Again, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's cryptocurrency. Whether or not they're going to use, you know, it's used for. I mean, it is mentioned in Bitcoin in this patent, and this patent is by Microsoft, by the way. Microsoft logged this back in March last. I think it's March last year. Oh yeah, we're talking about not March, June. I think it was in March, but actually it's filed on the 20th of the 6th, 2019. So is that far? I mean, if it's tinfoil hat stuff, then okay, well then Microsoft the tinfoil hat. You know, it's why are they doing that? That's a very interesting state of affairs, that one. Bitcoin though, cryptocurrency tapped into your body. So let's just say you're going to pay me 1 Bitcoin to run around the block, and I go, well, okay then. Well, I'll tell you what, if you are going to pay me 1 Bitcoin, I will run around the block. Anybody want to give me a Bitcoin for running around the block? And we all know that I'm not exactly the most fittest person in the world. But I can still run. So once it will actually be able to measure, work out that my body's doing physical activity. And once I complete this, you know, it will be obviously somehow programmed in. I mean, I've read through it all, but not everything. I do have other lives to lead. So after you complete that said task, you then will be credited 1 Bitcoin. The system will just do it. Remember, you will own nothing but be happy. Apparently that's part of the World Economic Forum sort of things. But there we go. Again, Bitcoin, 40,000. Why is that shot up? And something like that comes out. It's very interesting. I just got a notification. David Curtin, going for London Mayor, not afraid to talk the truth. Yeah, that's interesting. I will actually, try and reach out to him. Or David, if you're watching, or you somehow end up seeing this message, please get in contact. It would be really nice. Would like to chat to you. It goes for anybody. I don't care what party you're part of, but I really would love people who are independent, who want to stand up for council. I really want to help you say what you want to do and then push that out on social media, because I believe independent might be the way forward. Witty Valance court cases going ahead worldwide. Okay, yeah, Witty Valance court cases going. There's some things going on. out there, people, that apparently lawyers are looking at trying to stop this through the legal things, but it takes a lot to be done. It has been months in the making, as they say, trying to gather evidence. But again, that's for another show. So this is another thing. People are being forced in positions of employment. So there is a thing where the government's trying to force people who work in care homes or work in the health industry to take the vaccine. That's against human rights. You should be no way vilified or made to look like you're disgusting if you don't take the vaccine. And it's illegal for them to do that. Because the question you got to ask is if somebody or some government, or even government agency, well, the government's already said they will pay out 150,000 if the vaccine is proved to cause your death or obviously any long-term illness or life changing. But if you're in a private company, ask the directors of that company or the owner or whoever, just say, okay, if I have this done, then you take personal responsibility if anything happens to me. Because then the family can sue them. Guarantee they won't sign that document. Because it is quite a big thing. Many times people will force you to do something and you ask them to sign online to say that they're doing it. They will not, but they would say you're off book. And if you think that is right, that people are being vilified for speaking out and also for saying they don't want to take the vaccine, it's humanity, man. It's humanity. We need to make sure that people feel safe in whatever they choose to do in their lives. And we shouldn't discriminate against them. So any solicitors who will work on a pro bono case, there is some out there, contact us at FBL and we'll pass it on if anybody lets us know. Because I have a few people who've talked to me about how they feel insecure about their job because they don't want to take the vaccine. They don't want to be, but they don't want to lose their job. And they shouldn't lose their job. I mean, you're saying, well, they work in a care home. Well, that, again, doesn't matter. I know you're saying, well, then they could cause death. I know there is a whole load of things here that you need to look at. But if you're wearing full PPE, then does it matter that you've taken the vaccine? Or does it not matter that you haven't taken the vaccine? Even if you've taken the vaccine, it doesn't make it so that you can't pass the virus. So forcing somebody to take the vaccine to do their job is illegal. And also, if the case is true, if they say it's 100% effective, if you take this vaccine, you will not pass it on, and it's now become part of your employment contract, then they need to buy you out of it. They can't sack you bringing in something else later on. Oh, they can sack you, but you take them to an industrial tribunal. Can't just change halfway through. Things have changed, and yeah, it's unprecedented. But then again, this vaccine has not had the longevity trials done, not for 10 to 15 years. And some people are uncomfortable about taking a vaccine when they literally, like I'm saying, people under the age of 18, greater than 99.9% from survival of COVID. Greater than 1 in 10 in the trials of these vaccines documented having adverse reactions. Do you want your child to have an adverse reaction for something that does not necessarily they need to take? I'll leave that up to you. But again, that's what this was. Vaccinate or not. It's not my decision. It's your decision. It's not the government's position. Nobody has the right to discriminate against somebody who does or doesn't take the vaccine. But there is a thing about the shedding. I've made this quite clear to a lot of people around me now. And I'll tell you, I went to have my hair cut today. Again, got my mop. I went in there, I sat there, and I didn't realize that they had just had the vaccine done a few days before. There's kind of a 2-week shedding thing. This is stuff I'm reading. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? I'm I'm gone. And I did, and I walked out. I said, don't worry, not a problem. I'll see you. I'll be back in 2 weeks. You know, person shedding, probably, not definite. Again, don't know. Nothing's really out there. You know, there's documents out there. The government's not saying anything about it, but something that I've read about. And my whole process and the way I'm thinking, I go to myself, well, this is what I possibly think. So if you've been vaccinated, please respect me. In my respect, you know, stay away. But again, you know, you might think, well, okay, well, you're saying you won't get vaccinated, so you can catch COVID. Well, this is man-made COVID. If it ends up being like that, you know, again, not proven, don't really know, but looking at the stats and stuff that I've seen, again, younger generation, great immune system, the way it works. Older generation, never know, don't really know. But let me know your thoughts on that as well. And I think that's it. Any questions? Let me know. Don't believe we've got any, which is quite cool. I'll just double check. There's nothing else there. Well, I hope you found this informative. Do let me know in the comments. Don't get nasty. Don't say whatever. If you've got nothing good to say, as parents used to say nothing at all. Hopefully, AMG, you can let me know if I've forgot anything quickly as I quickly land the plane or wrap this up. I hope this gave you some form of understanding and hopefully set your mind at ease and you don't have fear, especially because only by confronting the truth and looking for the truth can we set our mind at ease. How you go about doing, I wish you all the best, you know, whether you do or you don't take the vaccine. Again, it's not about what, you know, what I think, it's what you think. And just remember that. But also remember, when you're forcing businesses to close or you're going ahead with what the government is saying, you know, yeah, vaccine passport's a great idea. Think what else is going out there. Oh, there's one thing I have forgot. Give me 1 second and I will bring this up. I'll bring it up on screen, actually. There's one thing. Again, I have to stop that, don't I? Hello, people. How are we all doing? Hope we're all okay. Right. Right. Here we go. I need to do this. Right. Not doing what I wanted to. There we go. Got it. There we go. Yay. What is in... There we are. It's a wonderful thing for you to do. And I've taught this last year to some of the companies, is when you're trying to see what popular stuff is going on in the world, and this is an amazing bit, it's something that we use when we're trying to create videos. I mean, I got some great stuff, Stansted and ENG and all that lot. But people who are looking to create videos actually type in like this, what is in, and then boom. Interestingly enough, Google's bringing up as like one of the most common things asked is what is in the COVID-19 vaccine. And then, yeah, obviously we can now look at that. See if they any of them, what is it? Answers. Where should we go? Government, I suppose, is probably the best bit, isn't it? Look at this. Is it safe to take COVID vaccine? There you go. Watch my video. Where is it? Let's have a look. Who is this? Where's the government stuff on that? Oh, World Health Organization. Blah, 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 blah. I should have actually put this up on a slide. Was it really that hard a question? Just kind of... AMG, send me a link to government site saying the vaccine project. No, not there. Oh, let's go back to the search criteria. Vaccine access. Who can take the vaccine? Question answer on vaccines. Oh, NHS. How many of you were shouting at me going, it's there. Look, there. NHS. High risk. Who was eligible? Read the latest JVI advice on priority groups. No. How the COVID vaccine is given. How do we get COVID vaccine? Social distance guidelines. And interesting, it's not anywhere near the top. Oh, that's quite interesting. There you go. COVID vaccine has been approved, not licensed, approved. Again, not licensed. There we go. Allergic reactions. Oh, the rare blood clots. Yeah. Again, see this rare blood clots. They don't know. They're only just learning. Welcome to the experiment. At last. The approved COVID-19 vaccines do not contain any animal products or egg. Excellent. That really tells me a lot about what is in the vaccine. Thank you, NHS. You're amazing. I should wait. That's quite scary, isn't it? That you can't easily look up the ingredients. Okay, let's go back to the search criteria then, shall we? I know this bit is you kind of thinking, get to the point. Found it easily enough earlier. Actually, that's not what I wanted, was it? Can I take a second dose? Can COVID vaccine cause a positive test result for a disease such as... No, can the COVID-19 vaccine cause a positive test result for the disease, such as for a PCR or an antigen test? No, the COVID-19 vaccine will not cause a positive test result for a COVID-19 PCR or antigen laboratory test. So you've got COVID then. So, okay, if you take the vaccine, you definitely can't get COVID. That's what they say. But as I showed you earlier, it was very interesting how the death rate went up in the care homes, and so did the amount of cases. Interesting one. Should I vaccinate if I've had COVID-19? Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should be vaccinated when it is offered to you. The protection that someone gains from having COVID-19 will vary from person to person, and we also don't know how long. Natural immunity might last. Natural immunity, people. If you catch this, depending on your percentage, I know you're probably saying, well, yeah, well, I'm in the whatever. Fine. Natural immunity. They still don't know because they don't know. That's a pure confirmation as into why, you need to think about this being an experiment. It's approved. It's not licensed. It's not user acceptance either. It's emergency use authorization. They've not done the tests. They don't know. They have no idea. And again, you can't blame them that they have no idea because it's only come about now. So they've made it a couple of months and then they put it out there, put it in a few tests. That seems to create variants all over the world, but we won't go into that much. And then, they don't know. But they don't kind of say that. They don't really push that enough. They don't know. And this is basically an experiment that they don't know. So by taking this vaccine, this is the thing you need to remember. I can't say this enough. They don't know. So something bad could happen in a year, 5 years, 10 years. They don't know. And that's why they pay a lot of money for people to do medical trials. But everybody's just been told to take the jab. And if you're not taking it, you're being forced in some way, shape. There's coercion, there's discrimination, it's wrong. Our basic human rights have been violated. Shall we? Yeah, let's visit this while I quickly digress from the ingredients, because again, it's so easy to. Do the vaccines protect against variants? The COVID-19 vaccines are expected to provide at least some protection against new virus variants and are effective at preventing serious illness and death. Okay, that's because these vaccines create a broad immune response. And any virus changes or mutations should not make vaccines completely ineffective. If any of these vaccines become less effective against one or more of the variants, it will be possible to change the composition of the vaccine to protect against these variants. The reason they can change it quite easily is because they haven't isolated. They can't prove that they've isolated, in fact, the actual virus. They have a computer-generated code of what it is. And if the variant changes, then they kind of tweak that code. So by doing so, that's why they're able to just like, oh, we'll just genetically modify it. There we go. Put it into the person, job done. That's what that's really basically going on about. So while we are learning more, we need to do everything possible to stop the spread of the virus in order to prevent mutations. Maybe not creating a man-made vaccine that hasn't been trialed properly. There we go. That might be a possible start. I don't know. That may reduce the efficiency of existing vaccines. I know that I know a load of you are probably saying, "Well, I shouldn't have really said that." Really, I know, but I'm going to do that because trials have been in different countries, and that's where we have mutations from. And nobody seems to be able to explain why an antibody, a natural immunity, as it says there, natural immunity, is any different, why you need to take a vaccine as well for the same antibodies. That's no real explanation. I've not really found it. If you know it, then please let me know and educate me. But I honestly, let me know. Put in the comments. All right, my notifications just person. Thank you, AMG. Has said where it is. Let me just double check what they said. Will be more info about the different vaccines on the NHS page. Okay, they think. Okay. Sorry, everybody. While we are learning more, we need to do everything possible to stop the spread of the virus in order to prevent mutations that may reduce the efficiency of existing vaccines. This means staying at least 1 meter away from others, covering a cough or a sneeze in our elbow. That's another interesting one, actually. Yeah. You kind of need to do that. Just remember that. I mean, people turn away and it goes out the back, blah, blah, blah. Frequently cleaning your hands, wearing a mask. Avoid poorly ventilated rooms or opening a window. I mean, again, masks, people are wearing them for the whole day. They're only supposed to be 15 minutes. If you know any different, let me know. Right. The info part. I just got told info part. Okay, let's... on the NHS. What is it going to be? No. Oh. Here we go. Where are they? This is the best bit, eh? Should have put that on there. I thought it was just here, AMG. Here we go. Information, blah, blah, blah. I think it's in here. Whoa, it's going to be a big document. Nearly there. Let's just do a quick. It is in here somewhere. Why is it so hard to find when I found it so easy before? Oh, here's all your the most frequently reported adverse reactions in site ejection tenderness. So again, I went through all those earlier with you, and they're not. Going back to here, they have other side effects which you don't get, I believe, when you have the vaccine. Adverse drug reactions are organized by MedRAS system organ class. There's a lot of stuff on there. I think we're getting to it right here. Ah. Wow, they got a lot in there. Sorry, people. Should have actually... I think that was it, no? Again, this is just the numbers. Let me know in the comments if you kind of know. Oh, here we are. Oh, no. So, something we didn't touch on. What you need to know before you receive the COVID-19 vaccine, AstraZeneca, if you have had any severe allergic reactions to any of the active substances or any of the ingredients listed in Section 6, there you go, gave us the answer there. Signs of allergic reactions may include itchy skin rash, shortness of breath, and swelling of the face or tongue. So bear that in mind, people. If you've ever had a blood clot occurring at the same time as having low levels of platelets, this is what's new coming up from obviously the stuff that they were talking about. This is new into this document. If you ever had a condition known as heparin induced or whatever, thrombocytopenia and thrombosis, HITT or HIT type 2. Again, if you're not sure, talk to your doctor, pharmacist or nurse. And I know people who've asked questions and no, they haven't given them any helpful information and set their mind at ease. And I've kind of set their mind at ease. They've asked me a few questions and I've said, well, you kind of need to look it up. But if you're going to be lazy and you just want me to kind of spoon feed you a little bit, yellow card system, people can't say enough. Please do, if you do take the vaccine, please do log it on there so that all the wonders who be will be notified and maybe can work out that there's a link. Because we just want people to be safe. That's all I want. You know, it's part of the research project. You know, just need to, update them. Right, here we go. One dose contains CHADOX1-S. So if you've got chimpanzee adenovirus vector encoding the SARS-CoV spike, product in genetically modified human embryonic kidney, 293 cells. Product contains genetically modified organisms, GMOs. I didn't know that. As they say, I'm sure some of you said that. The other, let's have a look. We've got, if some of these will increase your heart rate, and this is why people have talked about having increased heart rate. Okay, so the AstraZeneca has that. We don't have to spell Pfizer. Actually, was it on the other page? All right, let's cut the story short. If you look at some of this vaccine information, it's World Health Organization again. You'll actually find that a peg is in there, in a couple of them, if not all. And that's where you might get people saying, in regards to 2006 patent, why can't I find that? That's a shame. Okay, well, that's not interesting TV, as I say, is it? Let's have a look. Oh, so okay, BMJ, British Medical Journal. I think they have to roll out the Pfizer vaccine commence. The MHRA was forced to issue a belated warning about the risk of anaphylaxis with particular suspicion surrounding the ingredients polythene, glyco, PEG. There we go. So it's interesting. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Just used to referring to it as PEG. Give me 1 sec while I just. Okay, so it's not recorded, I think, in here. Nope, not in there. Okay, that's good then. But I think if you take the Pfizer vaccine, which is if you look at the BMJ, what they said, any person in the history of medicine should not receive the. Yeah, it's the Pfizer vaccine. So you can find that in the Pfizer vaccine, and that is trying to be pushed quite highly. So there you go. That was the BMJ. And I really hope you enjoyed all this, as they say, as in such. And sorry about that last bit there. Apologies. Can't do everything, right. I should have put the list down and list them for each one of those. My fault. Unless they were in. I just remembered. I think they were. I know this is a long video, and I'm sure certain people will cut little bits out and post them out and say, look at this, is what you said. Please don't take it out of context. Please take it the right way. Yeah, I think I did have a list of. Oh no, I cut out the list from the other slide because I was too busy trying to put in that new information that I'd found earlier on today. So there you go. There you have it. Do you vaccinate or do you not? Do let me know. I would really like to find out. And if you do vaccinate, do let us know how you felt, how you got on with it. And we wish you all the best and all the luck. And we hope that COVID disappears quite quickly and we can all return back to normal. Do think about when you're wearing these. Excuse me. Do think about them because they do stop you from breathing and you can get bacterial pneumonia. Constantly wearing them is not good for you, especially your children, especially if they're running around. Running around with a mask creates CO2 that goes into your body. We all know about the CO2 of the environment. An interesting fact, look at some of the stuff that's inside even these, the little fibers and stuff. If you're inhaling and exhaling, you're making these moist, you're making them wet, and then you're transferring it to yourself, and you're actually swallowing all that. And I know medical professionals wear these all the time, and that's part of their precautions that they take, even before COVID. But we're not used to these properly, and they can take little black fibers. People call them worms, but whatever. But yeah, I put this in the water because somebody told me something. I was having a look, and I took it out of the water, and then I saw everything that came off of this. It was very interesting. But that's not what they wanted me to look at, which is quite interesting. So yeah, look, I hope you enjoyed this, and I know it kind of went on for 2 hours and 24 minutes, and I thank you for still watching and let me know. And some of you sent me some private comments. Do let us know in the comments. Do share. Do let people watch this. I mean, I know it is very long, and maybe if I can make a shortened version, I will, or maybe I'll create a nice little wrapped up video. But we'll be doing other videos to do with things to do with the government and stuff like that, about elections, about, if you don't know, I've not heard of it, until I can bring out the video, I'll do the next live stream. It is about, for instance, the Commons Library. Very interesting if you're interested in politics, especially with the elections all coming up, local elections. If you want to move into like MP role scenario, or even you're just interested in what's going on out there, do look at the Commons Library. We'll be doing a video about that at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, hopefully when things can turn back to normal and we come out a lot now. Right, I'm going to go finish my cup of coffee, thank a couple of friends, especially AMG, for all the help that they've done, and put my information up there. And we wish you all the best. And I hope you have a very safe, productive week, month, week, day, year, whatever. And we look forward to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. And also give us a comment and be nice. Love you all. Oh, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. And hopefully you'll look forward to watching some more of our content. Good night.